The one habit that will make you a happier person. Hello and welcome to the Could Be Anything channel. We'll learn about the one behavior that will make you happy today. Let's get started. The majority of the world is looking for a happiness recipe. They're looking for a miracle solution that will allow them to realize their wildest aspirations. Because that's what a lot of people consider happiness to be. Happiness is associated with those grandiose ideas you like to think about in their brains. You're aware of which ones I'm referring to. The fantasies in which you are wealthy, renowned, and live on top of the world. Every day is filled with new and fascinating adventures. You could be surrounded by people who adore and love you. You may have achieved every single objective you've ever set for yourself. Negative feelings such as dread, doubt, and loneliness are banished in these dreams. While it would be lovely to spend the rest of your days laughing, smiling, and enjoying life, this one transforming habit will not provide you that type of happiness. Because that isn't how true happiness appears. To begin with, being happy isn't a prize to be won. You are not crossing a finish line. There is no switch in your skull that will make you happy for the rest of your life. Happiness will never be a part of who you are in the long run. Happiness is only a fleeting emotion. It's transient and situational, and it can go in the blink of an eye. You might be content for a few weeks before having a bad day. You begin to feel melancholy or lonely. You're caught in a rut for no apparent reason. That isn't to say you won't be joyful the next day. All you have to do now is discover how to get back on your feet. So, how do you ensure that you are as happy as possible? Even though happiness is a feeling rather than a personality characteristic, you can still live a happy life. Consider it as though you were cleaning your room. What would happen if you didn't clean for a year? Obviously, your room becomes quite filthy and unpleasant. The more you ignore it, the more difficult it becomes to clean. What if you didn't wait until the end of the year to make your decision? Instead, what if you set out a little time each week to get things straightened out? Isn't it true that cleaning your room would be a lot easier? My point is that happiness is earned incrementally, day by day. However, in order for that positivity to last, you must first set yourself up for mental and emotional success. This is a psychology topic that has received a lot of attention. A 2016 research overview, based on more than a dozen studies, illustrates in depth how context affects happiness. Happiness, on the other hand, isn't really a useful term in the scientific community. It's really too ambiguous. Everyone will have their own notion of happiness if you ask them. This is why these research concentrate on a concept known as subjective well-being or SWB. Happiness is essentially the same thing. It simply focuses on life pleasure, making it easy for researchers to define and quantify. But let's go back to that 2016 overview. A number of novel discoveries about subjective well-being have been made as a result of the recent study mentioned in this paper. One of the most essential features is that SWB is extremely adaptable. In other words, the decisions you make and the circumstances you choose have a significant impact on your happiness. Evidence of this can be found in a 2005 study. Researchers looked at how happiness changes over time in this study. Researchers discovered that as people's lives progressed, they became happier. However, no one provided these individuals with the tools they needed to have a happier life. The researchers did nothing but monitor their surroundings and decisions. People who actively pursued happiness, on the other hand, showed the most dramatic improvements. Another 2012 study focused on the impact of significant lifestyle changes on subjective well-being. Marriage, work, and a variety of other personal traits, it turns out, are among the best indicators of overall life pleasure. These aren't the only studies that have been done. There are a slew of more examples that demonstrate how much power you have over your happiness. Despite this, many individuals continue to wait for happiness to fall into their laps. That's why getting more sleep, taking breaks, or spending time with pleasant people aren't the only habits that will increase your subjective well-being. All of these modifications will improve your mood, but they are all passive. Keep in mind that subjective happiness is something you can and should work on. That is why grabbing life by the horns is the one habit that will improve your life. Internalizing the fact that your happiness is always your responsibility and no one else's is what it is all about. Let's take a closer look at how this one behavior contributes to your happiness and positivity. We'll start with gaining control, because it's the first thing that comes with taking on responsibility. It gives you a much-needed sense of control over how your life unfolds. Personal control, according to a 2018 study, maintains your mind feeling calm and balanced. To put it another way, you feel better about something when it appears to be your decision. The emotional responses to increased and decreased levels of personal control were measured by the researchers. Increased control did, in fact, successfully reduce negative emotions. But what they discovered by reducing control is much more intriguing. You'd expect that if having more control helps you feel better, having less control makes you feel worse. However, a decrease in personal control did not lead to an increase in unpleasant emotions. Participants simply didn't care if they didn't have any agenda. This is a common pitfall that many individuals fall into every day. They are apathetic throughout their lives. They believe they have no influence over what is going on. Unfortunately, their passivity develops into long-term pessimism, leading to hopelessness and low self-esteem. These are two of the most difficult emotional states to recover from, if you didn't already know. You're not only getting rid of toxic apathy by taking control of your happiness, you're also giving yourself the chance to actually develop. While apparent control is crucial, it isn't the main reason for this habit's success. That has more to do with acceptance of oneself than anything else. Isn't it true that when you accept responsibility for something, you also accept ownership? You're claiming ownership of something, no matter how good or bad it turns out to be. The thing you're claiming in this scenario is yourself. This is something that, believe it or not, very few people actually do. Consider those daydreams of fame and money you had as a kid. Are you really yourself in those dreams? Or are you some fictitious version of yourself that doesn't exist? We spend so much time fantasizing about what it would be like to be someone else that we forget to appreciate who we are. That could be the most significant outcome of this one life-altering habit. It teaches you to accept the things that you can't alter, and make the most of what you have. That kind of acceptance will do wonders for your self-esteem and confidence. Why? Because it alleviates the constant aggravation of squabbling with forces beyond your control, which manifest as anxieties and insecurities. Assume you've always been self-conscious about your appearance. You often envious more gorgeous people since you don't like the way you look. You notice their confidence and charisma and think they possess those qualities based on their appearance. You give up looking for such things for yourself because you're too preoccupied with something over which you have no control. Taking responsibility necessitates a shift of perspective. It's all about identifying an issue and then figuring out how to solve it. If you want to improve your appearance, for example, it's tempting to focus on your height or the form of your face. You'd never get anywhere, though. You may create actual improvement that you can be proud of by focusing on areas you can control, such as your health and physical fitness. Finally, managing your happiness reduces rumination, one of the most common and harmful vices. Rumination isn't a bad thing in and of itself. It just means pondering something deeply. Rumination, like self-reflection, is most of the time absolutely innocuous. After completing a test, you can reflect about how well you did. That isn't a problem at all. However, if you're frightened or insecure, a little ruminating can become out of hand. You might be worried that you forgot to write your name on the paper or that you missed a complete page on the test. You begin to question every decision you've made, no matter how irrational it may appear. Because you're convinced something will go wrong, you feel psychologically and emotionally anxious. This type of ruminating is akin to abdicating responsibility. You're fretting over matters over which you have no control while taking no action. You will never be able to change the past, whether you like it or not. Taking responsibility for your happiness necessitates focusing on the future. You spend less time ruminating because you've developed a habit of looking for solutions to improve things you don't like. So don't waste another day hoping for a lifetime of happiness to be handed to you. Accept yourself and take charge of your health to play an active part. Thank you for watching Could Be Anything, and please subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes.